Hello, my name is Jonathan Harris and welcome to another Worldwide Camera Exchange video. Today I'm going to talk about the Leica 35 Summicron 4 rangefinder cameras. Probably one of the most popular and well-loved lenses in the Leica range. I'm going to firstly talk about the variants available. It's been made since the mid-1950s. There are quite a few variants to consider. And then I'm going to talk about the checks you need to make if buying one second-hand. Okay, so this is a 35 f2 Summicron. This is actually the chrome version, dating back to the mid-1990s. When it was first introduced in the mid-1950s, it was introduced for the Leica 3G, and it had a screw thread. In 1959, Leica introduced the first Summicron for the M3. Chrome lens with an infinity lock. So on the little focusing tab here, there was a lock. So to move it away from infinity, you push a little button in and then it would unlock it, and you move it back to infinity. If you take your finger off the little recessed button in here, it would lock on infinity. So through the 1960s, they made fundamentally two versions of the lens: the lens only version and the M3 version. The M3 version had big spectacles or goggles bolted to the top, which allowed you to use the lens on the M3 without an auxiliary viewfinder. So all made in chrome through the 1960s. There were one or two black paint lenses, but they were very, very rare indeed. You're not likely to see those. 1969, Leica recomputed the lens and relaunched it in a black anodized finish. So what I mean by black anodized is that it's a black metal finish, not a black paint finish. It isn't paint on brass. It was actually a black metal finish. The very early version had the focusing lock, but Leica dropped that quite quickly. So most of the 1970s versions you'll see won't have the focusing lock. That was made for 10 years, so 69 through to 79. In 1979, Leica introduced the first of what I was called the modern lenses. And by that, what I mean is that the lenses in the Leica range with the focal length engraved next to the depth of field scale in this sort of computerized font. So 1979, they introduced the newer version. Initially, they were all in black. Optically, an improvement on the 1970s version. This version is the King of Bokeh version. You see it advertised as the King of Bokeh, very, very popular lens. Made from 1979 through to 1995. Early 1990s, Leica reintroduced the chrome variety, the chrome variant, and this actually is the chrome version of the King of Bokeh. So 79 through to 95, the King of Bokeh was produced initially in black, later in chrome. 1996, Leica recomputed again and introduced the aspheric version in black and chrome. Slightly chunkier lens, slightly heavier lens. Optically, an improvement. Some argue they prefer the version before. I'm not going to get into that debate now. There's plenty of resource online that argues the pros and cons. The 35 f2 aspheric is fundamentally the current version today. There was an update with the hood, Leica changed the hood slightly, but if you go out and you buy the 35 Summicron today, the current version is the aspheric. There is, of course, the very, very expensive Apo aspheric. I can't recommend that. It's such a ridiculous amount of money. It's almost twice the price of the standard version. Is it twice as good? No. Is it 50% better? No. Is it 10% better? Perhaps. Now, if it were me, I'd be looking at either the aspheric version or the version before, introduced in 1979, the King of Bokeh version. So, you found a lens you like, you've seen it in a shop, you've just taken delivery online, you want to check it out. What do you look for? 3 areas to focus: cosmetics, mechanics, optics. First of all, just have a look at the cosmetics. Now, a lot of this is common sense. A lot of this will just give you a good idea how the lens has lived its life. Have a look at the filtering, make sure there are no nasty dents around there. have a look at the mount, make sure that there isn't excessive wear on the mount. The chrome plating on the mount will actually wear away quite quickly, and you see brass coming through underneath. Not an issue in itself, but it is a flag. If you see that, what it's saying is, hello, I've had a lot of use, check me over more thoroughly. So check that. Have a look at the lettering. That should be very bright and very bright and vibrant. If they've had a lot of use, that does become very dull. Again, not an issue, and really, if you're looking at a lens from the 1970s, not surprising. But it is a suggestion that it has had more use rather than less. So check over the cosmetics. If you're happy that cosmetically it's not too bad, if you're happy that it's not been abused or misused, then just have a look at the mechanics. Fundamentally, a very simple lens. Check the aperture. Just move it gently from side to side. You don't want any tight spots. You don't want it getting very stiff in the middle and then loosening up. It should just move nicely from side to side. Ironically, the later modern lenses, the 79 lenses and newer, the aperture does feel a little bit loose, a little bit rattly sometimes. That's actually perfectly normal, just how they are. Have a look at the focus. Again, move from infinity through to minimum focus. If it has a lock, obviously make sure it locks and unlocks. Move it gently through the range. It should move smoothly. If it's tight, it's a sign it needs a service. If it's loose or dry, it's a sign it needs a service. If it gets tight halfway through, then be a little bit more cautious, because if it gets tight, that could suggest that the lens has been knocked, and the helicoid, the brass thread that the focusing relies upon, has been knocked out of alignment. So if it does feel tight halfway through, I'd be very cautious, and personally I'd have it checked over by a repairer before buying. If you've satisfied yourself that mechanically it's fine, then move on to the optics. Now this one you do need to be careful with, because if you've got an optical fault, a serious optical fault, it can be impossible to get fixed. And even if they are fixable, the cost can be ridiculously high. So do be careful with the optics. Look through. Make sure everything's clean and bright inside. You want to make sure there's no misting, no fogging. You want to make sure there are no nasty spots with spidery legs, or no nasty spider-like growth across the internal surfaces. If you see that, that's fungus, just walk away from the lens. Also make sure that there's no rainbow. You can see no rainbow type effects inside. Imagine oil on water. If you hold it up and you see that inside, then that's a problem. Again, walk away. One or two little spots of one or two little spots of dust in the lens, not necessarily a problem. These lenses are rarely totally dust-free. So one or two little spots inside, not necessarily an issue, but make sure there's a fungus. Make sure you don't have those nasty sort of spidery legs growing out of the sort of central spot. Have a look at the front elements and have a look at the back elements, and just make sure there are no scratches. A few very light marks on the front element, particularly with the older lenses, isn't unusual and won't impact the performance. If there are marks on the glass, though, particularly on the front, they will impact the value. So don't pay top dollar if it's got a scratched front element. That really is common sense. Look at the back element, and again make sure it's free of marks. Whilst marks on the front may not make a difference, the chance of marks on the back impacting performance is higher. The closer you go to the film plane, the closer you go to the image sensor, the more likely marks are to impact the performance. So if you do see marks on the back, I'll be more cautious. If you can check with a film, or just take some test shots on your digital camera, that's great. And just satisfy yourself that they're not having any impact on the performance. So you've checked over the cosmetics. It hasn't been abused or misused. You've checked over the mechanics. It's working nicely. Aperture's working nicely. It's stopping down. The focusing's working nice and smoothly. And you've checked over the glass. You've made sure it's nice and clean inside. If you're satisfied in those three areas, then you can be confident you've got a good, reliable lens. I hope that's been useful. If you have any comments, please stick them in the box below. Otherwise, please like and subscribe. And I hope to see you again soon. Thank you. Bye bye.